Oh my goodness. I am so excited. I am so excited to be able to be coming here to be able to share this amazing human being with each and every one of you. I was first introduced to Lacey Marie just a few short weeks ago, it seems like, by a person that we both have a little bit of a relationship with on Facebook, like we're connected, right? But he knew a little bit about my story and what I was journeying through with breast implant illness. And he had met or had learned about Lacey Marie and her story. And so he just put us together and just said, hey, I can only imagine what kind of conversations are going to happen between these two. And yeah, so we are so, so grateful that we were brought together and connected. And we've had a couple of really good conversations. But today I'm super excited because we get to share this conversation with the world, right? And, guys, just so you know, I have asked Lacey, and Lacey, do you like Lacey or just Lacey Marie? Would you like both together or do you
Either
prefer?
one. I have no preference. Either one.
Okay. Okay, great. So I'm excited to be able to share this whole conversation with the world because you've told me that you are super willing to be vulnerable. You're super willing to be an open book, and you're super willing to share this journey that you've been on that really took you through the depths. I want to say the depths of hell, pretty much
Mhm.
close to death, to where you are so vibrant and just thriving in your life today. So, guys, buckle up. Get ready to hear this amazing woman's story where she really truly has traveled through chaos to reach a point of joy, that now she's at a point where she's sharing that same pathway and process with women around the world and men, right? This is not just a woman's conversation. This is about things that men are fully involved with too. So, hello, Lacey. Woohoo!
Hello, hello. Yay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I have a series of questions that I'm going to ask Lacey, and more than likely we'll get off track and we'll go beyond the scope of the questions just because, that's how conversations go with girls, right? But, Lacey, will you please just share with us, first of all, who are you and what did your background look like?
Oh my goodness. That's probably one of my least favorite questions. So let's just hit it right out of the gates. Because we are, as we were, as we've spoken before, like we're just so complex. So for me, I'm just going to give you in a little bit of a nutshell. I am a very go-getting, vibrant woman that has been divorced 3 times. I have 4 kids. I have suffered from breast implant illness. I have literally been on my deathbed and incredibly sick, to struggling to find different ways to make my life not even make sense, but just kind of work a little bit, just a tiny bit. And so I think I am just a woman out here doing her very best and living life to the absolute fullest that I can every single day.
I absolutely love that because the thing is that you've been through so much, and yet you can hear in your voice. And I'm looking at you on Zoom because we are recording this via Zoom as well, so that we can have some video clips. But just the joy that exudes from you, and I obviously know more than the listeners know yet about you. And I would, so you have your children, and I know that there's been a lot of things that have happened in your life that have really led you to this whole new understanding of what it is to be a mother, what it is to be a
Mhm.
parent, and what you have to sometimes release in order for you to be the best that you can be. So I know that you've had a lot of really difficult times in your life. Can you
Mhm.
actually go deeper? Because I know we kind of let you get away with that first question being quite short, right? But the reason why I'm letting you do that is because I know that in these next questions that you're
Mhm.
going to be able to dive deeper into who truly Lacey is and who, she was, because you're a completely different person now than who you
Completely,
were.
completely different
Right.
person.
Yeah. So I'll let you off the hook on the first question, but question number two is going to get you a little bit
Yeah.
more in depth, right?
Yes,
So
for
so
sure.
in this second question, I would really love for you to share with our audience the lowest points that you've had in your life, because you've had several of them, where
Mhm,
you really felt like you were alone. I
mhm.
would even say sometimes that you were probably deceived and just really um, almost taken advantage of in your difficulties, but you just really felt discouraged. And in those times, you had that choice that we
Mhm,
all have at one point or another, right? Of
mhm.
either breaking down or breaking through. Can you just go deeper into those times where you just didn't know if you were going to be able to go on?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would say the very first time that I was at that point where I was like, do I give in or do I keep going? What do I do? I was married to my first husband. Our marriage was a full 15 years. I got married right out of high school. It was very encouraged in the culture that we were in. So we got married right out of high school, started having kids immediately, and doing our very best to raise ourselves in a marriage and start raising kids. And it was right about, I think I was pregnant with my third baby, and I felt like my world came crashing down all within just a short amount, within just a few months. I found out I was pregnant with baby number three. Mind you, I'm like 24 maybe at this point in time, so I'm still a baby myself. Pregnant with baby number three, and my husband at the time had just been charged with sexual harassment at work. So everything had to be put on pause. We didn't know if we were going to lose everything, if it was something that was true, that what I didn't know if it was something that was true or that wasn't. And I got to make a choice right then and there what I was going to do. Am I going to bounce? Am I going to flee this situation because of the structure around this sexual harassment case? Or am I going to stay and stick it out? And I chose to stay and stick it out, only to find out a few months later that there was an involvement with a very young girl in our church, where we go to church. And that was another whammy within just the next 6 months. And so again, I had to sit there and I was angry and I was frustrated. And I was like, here I am, a young mom. I have zero education. I can't leave because what the hell am I going to do? So, okay, cool. There's this sexual harassment lawsuit against my husband. We may be losing everything. And now he's wrapped up in some way in this relationship with a very young lady from our church. So I felt trapped and I felt like I don't know what I'm going to do. So I put on my big girl pants and I said, we're going to make this work. Because I don't know what else to do. We've got this family and I have no way to provide. So we're going to make it work. So we tried for for a few months, and then we were relocated to a new place, new location, because we were in the hopes of that if we relocate, all of our past trials will go away, but they don't, right?
No, they don't.
So that's where my breast implant journey begins, is because now here I am. I have just dealt with my marriage literally falling apart, and it was all around sexuality. It was all around sexual things. And so I instantly was thinking, I need to be better.
Mm.
Like I need to improve myself. I've had three babies, they've all nursed. You guys, my body, just like all of ours, is amazing, but I was very blessed and very fortunate. My body bounced back very well, like very well. And of course, I'm hindsight, I'm like, oh, I should have been really thankful for what I had.
You mean you didn't have rocks and socks? That's what happened to me after my babies. Okay, I had like rocks and socks. That's not fair that you bounced right
Yes.
back.
No, I really bounced back pretty great. But of course, there was the mental aspect. Mine was all the mental aspect of, why am I not enough to make my marriage work?
Right.
Why am I not enough? So if I'm just better, maybe my marriage will be better. Maybe we can stay together as a family. Maybe my kids can grow up in a nuclear family setting. And So I 100% pushed and made the choice to start seeking out plastic surgeons to get breast implants. And this is something I want to make very clear because I find it very important. Not once did my ex-husband ask me to get breast implants. Not once did he complain about my body. Not once was there anything like that. But because I didn't feel or have that comfort and safety and security within my marriage, I instantly put it on myself that I needed to be better and look better to make the situation better.
Wow, that is such a big, big point to make. And yet, what I have to also give to you is that those thoughts didn't just start inside your own brain. That thought of you needing to be more and to be better didn't just start within inside of you. The choices that your husband made in your marriage obviously leaned toward you thinking that way. But as a society and as a whole, I truly believe that we have failed women, we have failed girls, and in its own right, we've failed men as well.
100%.
Yeah, in the expectations that are put out there in the media, in print, in what they do on models. I mean, everybody knows, right, that the models don't really look the way they look in the pictures. They're totally airbrushed, right?
Right.
But we're made to believe that that's what makes you desirable.
Right. And we still get totally conditioned around that. And it's absolutely bizarre and mind-blowing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So thank you for that
Yes.
little tangent we just went on there. But so you went seeking out plastic surgeons.
I did, yes, because it's a quick, easy fix. We had plenty of money. Money was not an issue. And so it was like, great, sign on the dotted line, pay your deposit, get in, meet with the plastic surgeon, pick the kind, shape, size. Oh, I think it was like 2 weeks later, maybe. I was in surgery. I had the lift, I had the implants placed, like I had the whole shebang. And you guys, they were beautiful by society standards. They were amazing. The surgeon did an incredible job. And yeah, they were great. It was done. In and out, not a problem. Recovery was great. Everything I thought was absolutely amazing.
Until.
Well, I can't remember the exact timeline, but I did not have my implants for very long. And we ended up with a surprise pregnancy. My husband and I, that little baby caboose that sometimes pops in the picture.
Well, you did increase that breast size and, it's kind of a turn on factor. So,
right.
Right.
So yes, I end up being pregnant with baby number 4 at this point. And it was by far my hardest pregnancy. I was sick right at the beginning. I was sick through the entire pregnancy. And I believe personally that is just when my body had it just had enough. It was done. It was dealing with the implants that I had placed and trying to figure out what to do with this foreign object. And then all of a sudden it's also making a baby. I also was underweight. I was over exercising, still trying to maintain and get that happiness and perfection. And I struggled with the pregnancy. My baby was born or the little boy was born a little bit early and pretty underweight. Like he definitely had he felt the effects of the stress on my body. So had the baby, my number 4, and I never felt like I fully ever recovered from that. I just literally felt like my zest for life, something had just been drained out of me, and it was a struggle. It was a big struggle. Wow. So he was born in 2011, and I believe it was about 2 years later that I just couldn't fake it anymore.
I understand that.
Right. I think every human will understand that or does understand that because we think, okay, I feel tired, but maybe I just need to change my diet, or I feel tired, maybe I'm just stressed, or I feel this, I just need to sleep. And I tried to listen to my body, but I also am a very strong personality. So I pushed through it and thought maybe I just need to exercise more. Maybe I just need to eat healthier. Maybe I need to try juice cleanse, and nothing against any of those things. They're all great things. But when your body is just fighting something that is foreign and that is not there, no amount of anything great is going to make it better.
Yeah, yeah. So just really quickly for the audience, not all of you may even understand what breast implant illness is. Because I mean, I know for me personally, I didn't know until February 24th of 2021, which is this year, right? What breast implant illness is. And basically, when women choose to get implants, they're implanting a foreign object into their bodies that eventually our body will reject, because we have something that was part of the amazing design of our bodies. It's called our immune system, that is like our army, right? And it goes to battle against those foreign objects. No matter what type of implants women decide to get, whether they're saline or whether they are silicone, they all have the silicone outer part.
Mhm.
And that silicone is made up of 37 different toxic chemicals that's leaching out inside of the body. And so, as Lacey's sharing her story and she's talking about breast implant illness, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about our immune system and our bodies going to battle, going to war against foreign bodies that are not meant to be there. And until they are removed, they're a toxic factory. And so, no matter what detox you do, no matter what you eat, no matter how much sleep you get, no matter what you do that is good for you, the factory is up and running and you can never get ahead of it. And so, I totally just wanted to make sure that the audience understood and the people listening here that this is a big deal. Any woman that is considering breast implants,
Mhm.
continue listening to Lacey's story right now, and you will hear what can happen to a body that where the person has made the decision to get implants, or any other type of implant, because there's more than just breast implants, right?
Yes.
So Lacey, so this led you on a journey of, by the way, one of the things that I watched when I first met Lacey was her TED Talk, and she's going to tell you a little bit about that here at the end of the episode. But guys, you have to watch this because it's mind blowing. She is so bold, and yet when you hear her story, your heart's going to break. And yet you will, when you're listening to Lacey, you will probably think of another woman in your life that
Mhm.
is struggling with something like what she's gone through. So, Lacey, at this point, after you've had your fourth baby, you never feel like you really fully recovered. You're pushing through because you're a warrior yourself, right? And you're
Mhm.
just a get it done. What happened that really turned in your life to where, it really got down to life and death?
Yeah. So there literally was one day, I remember it um, plain as it was yesterday. And I went to go get groceries. It's something we do as parents. You go to get groceries and make sure the fridge is fully stocked. And I went and I got the groceries. I took my little boys with me. My daughter was, I think, at school at the time. And by the time I got home from getting groceries, I just knew. I was like, I can't. I don't know how much longer I can keep going right now. So I hurried and got the groceries put away, the best that I could, and then I was just like, boys, let's lay down and watch some Netflix. Mommy needs a break. So we laid down to watch Netflix, and I essentially did not get up for about 2 years after that. It was the most terrifying, horrific experience that you can even imagine. So I know I get asked all the time, like, well, what do you mean you didn't get up? Like, what do you mean? I laid down in the bed to take a nap, and my body was just done. It was done fighting. I I could not physically or mentally will myself to get out of bed. And I mean, I did for the first little bit. I'd hurry, I'd get out of bed to do the very bare minimum. But anything outside of doing the absolute bare minimum, such as going to the bathroom and making some food for the kids, not even cleaning up, like just making the food for the kids and going back to bed, it was not an option. So luckily my parents live very close and they would come up and take care of my little kids while I would sleep during the day. And I started dropping weight pretty fast. One of my biggest like symptoms that was hitting really hard and really fast was going to the bathroom all the time. I had severe diarrhea, severe. And I could not keep any nutrients in anywhere. And then my hair started falling out by the chunk, like just the handfuls. And I remember thinking, is this anxiety? Because I used to struggle from anxiety pretty substantially. And my heart was just beating really fast. And I kept thinking, is this anxiety? Is this anxiety? But I knew it wasn't because it felt so differently. And by the time my parents really kind of stepped in and said, something is seriously wrong with you. We've known you our entire lives and you don't ever stay immobile for this long. We're getting you to the doctor. And I'm so incredibly thankful for my parents because they advocated for me 1,000,000% to get me to the doctor for whatever reason. So they got me into the doctor and my resting heart rate, I believe it was like 180, like my resting heart rate. It was just off the charts. And my blood pressure was incredibly low. So I had very high heart rate and very low blood pressure. And no matter what the medical professionals did, no matter what doctor I went and saw, they could not figure out what was wrong. I had every test ran under the sun, every test known to man. They were literally doing their best and trying to figure out why I was so sick, why I was having the symptoms I was, and why I was losing weight at such a rapid speed. It was so frustrating for everybody involved. Everybody.
I'm at a loss for words because we put this high expectation on people that go through medical school and become doctors to be able to have the answers for us. And yet in your circumstance, they had none, right? And so from our conversation, it's almost like they started throwing wet noodles up against the wall to see what was going to stick, hoping to find out what was going on and to be able to help you. Because I know that you went through a lot of procedures. I know that you went through all kinds of different things that the doctors wanted you to do. And, whatever you feel comfortable sharing on about that, because I really want everyone that hears this to know that no matter where you are in your health journey, the very best thing that you can ever do for yourself is to stand up and be your own advocate.
Clapping, standing, cheering 1,000,000 times over for that comment right there. If there is anything that anyone gets out of this podcast, be your own advocate. 100%. You know you, and like, advocate for yourself. So you're right. I totally did, Marcia. I went and saw many, many doctors, many different hospital visits across the states. I was desperate and I was seeking. And I remember asking many of the physicians if it could be my breast implants making me sick. And the response I always got was, no, they are an approved medical device. You are fine. So instead, what we all opted to do, and I will take I will take credit in this, but I didn't advocate enough for myself. So what we ended up doing was literally gutting me. I have no organs left. The only organs that I have are the critical ones that we have to have to actually survive, right? So I think it was like 5 surgeries in 6 months. And it was a full hysterectomy, my appendix, my gallbladder, I can't even remember. We did, like endoscopes and colonoscopies, all the things so many times. And it was just because the medical professionals, one, are not educated in breast implant illness, especially at that time. So you mention it and they look at you like you have 27 heads because they're approved medical device. Like, what are you smoking, lady?
Right.
Like, these are fine. But let's take out all your God-given organs and see if those are the things that went wrong.
And leave in your implants.
Right?
Leave. Yeah. Yeah. Leave in the implants.
Right? Which is such a weird thing for me, because as my story progresses, like all of a sudden I'm having this like aha moment, because I'm like, wait a second, that still is happening today. Well, in 2020, when my last round with the medical world happened. But yes, they only know what they know, and they are taught that medical devices are safe and approved, and put them in your body and you will be fine.
Yeah.
When if you have a doubt, even an inkling, a nudge, anything, a doubt that you have them and what is causing your problems, you keep going until you find a doctor that will listen to you and will do what you ask.
Yes. And we are really blessed today that there is a lot more information out there. There are a lot more people that are aware of it. And when you feel like you have numbers around you, you can have more confidence and a stronger posture around what you need to do to stand up for yourself, as well as doctors. There's a lot of good doctors out there now that are educated on breast implant illness. They 100% believe in it, and they are advocates as well for women that are suffering with BII symptoms. So yeah, we have come a long way, baby. Thank goodness.
In just a few short years. So imagine where we're going to be in just a few more short years.
Yes.
Like, I just love it.
Well, when you put truth and information in the hands of women, we know we like to talk, right? We know we like to
Look
share.
out.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is something that we need to be sharing so loud and so proud, and just in such a way that other women can start seeing themselves in the stories that we're sharing. Because I know that that's
Absolutely.
how I came to my awareness and my truth, and now to my healing, thank goodness. So looking back at those really hard times in your life, what happened that kind of was your pivot point? What happened that really got you onto a track of making the decision to change the medical trajectory of your life?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So what happened was, I remember seeing the last doctor that I went and saw for this issue. And they told me, like, I had several doctors tell me, but this one in particular looked at me and said, Lacey, we don't know what's wrong with you. I was about 80 pounds at this point, and they just said, you know what, you need to go home and get your affairs in order. It's time to start planning your funeral. And I was hot fire pissed off, like left the doctor, and I was like, who is he to say that it's my time to go? But then some of the closest people around me would look at me and say, Lacey, he's right. We're tired. We're tired of taking care of you. This isn't fair to your children. They deserve a mother. And they supported it. And they said, this one particular person said, like, yeah, we think it's time. You've fought a good fight. You've lived a good life. You're good. Go ahead and pass on. And this is the person that I expected to be my biggest fan, my biggest cheerleader. And so I let those voices get back in my head, and I decided that they were right. I was like, you know what? They're right. My kids do deserve a mom, and my family deserves to continue to live on and not have to always be concerned about how sick mom is. How, can mom go do this, or do we have to do it by ourselves? And so I had given up. I'd given up. And I said, you know what, let's spend this next weekend, do whatever it takes, give me as many pain pills as I need, get me out of the house, and let me have one weekend with my kids. And then, we'll just let fate take its course at that time. So it was going to be my goodbye weekend, that I went and told my closest family and friends goodbye. I had my weekend with my kids. I wrote all of my letters to them, for the big events that I was going to miss in their life. And I remember, so most of that took place on a Saturday, or, leading up to the Saturday. And then the following day was Sunday, and my family left and went to church. And I was not going. I could barely leave the house. So I stayed in bed and was napping and resting and meditating. And I just had this moment that I met my creator face to face, and was told that I had a choice I was specifically told, Lacey, you have a choice. You have lived a great life. You have done so much for your family and your kids. You don't have to go back. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. And I sat there in this state with my creator and pondered what to do. And I told him that I wanted to be done. I was so tired of fighting the emotional battle, the mental battle, the physical battle. Like, I was just done. So I was like, you know what? If it's my choice, I'm good. I'm good. Like, let me go. And I felt at peace with that decision. And then as I felt at peace with that decision and I was in this state, all of a sudden, the fire part of me flew in or like came into my mind, and I saw so many things. And one of the things that I saw was millions of women looking for help. Their spirits, their souls, their emotions, they were all there. Beautiful, amazing women looking for help and looking for answers. And I knew I had them. Like, I knew in that second. And I went, okay, I will go back for you, for my beautiful sisters, for my, these beautiful, amazing connections of these people who are needing help. Like, I will come back. And I remember at the last minute, like making a choice and saying, okay, send me back. And, my creator looked right at me and said, are you sure? Like, are you certain that is what you want? And I said, yes, kind of on blind faith, not having a clue what I was really committing to, but knowing it's what I was going to do. So I committed to it, and I received a giant hug and a kiss on the top of my head. And he said, this will be the hardest thing you have ever done. And I was gone. Mm. And I came back, like, I was here. I woke up in my bed. And I was there. I came back, and I knew that right there, I knew that something profound had just happened, and that I had made a choice to do something that I didn't fully understand, that I didn't fully know what the road ahead was going to look like, but I was ready and I was committed, and everybody better kind of look out.
Right. Yes. Yes. When you make that type of commitment to God, it's like, you kind of got to be ready to make some movement happen, right?
Right.
Oh my gosh. So speaking of movement, what did you do next? What was your next steps to be able to get yourself out of that bed and to be able to, look at you now.
I know, right? It's so bizarre.
Right? So what happened next?
The next steps was letting go of every expectation I ever had. It was literally to let go. And instead of just thinking that there was one path to get better, which was the Western medical world, which I had been doing for 2 years, I always knew there were other options. I just didn't have the faith and confidence enough in myself to try anything else. And so I let go of all of that. And I was like, you know what? No, I will try anything to get out of this bed. And I had my dad reach out to his cousin who does a lot of alternative medicine. And she started working with me on energy healing and foot detoxes, foot zoning, like all of these things that, especially then, you guys, this was only like 5 years ago. But 5 years ago was really, people didn't really talk a lot about this stuff. And so she came to my house and she just started working on me. She just poured her energy and her heart and soul into me and started detoxing and, doing some alternative work in medicine. And it just started to work. It wasn't like the next day I got up and walked around the house but it started to work. I started to stay awake longer. And then within, a week or two, then I was able to get up and walk around my house. I showered by myself. I didn't have to have somebody bathe me. Like, it's all of these little tiny things. And then it was just so bizarre because I was absolutely celebrating feeling better and owning that I was taking a different route and finding something that was going to work for me and my body. And that is when I was hit with the next blow. I still wasn't fully healed. I wasn't in a great place. And that's when I was asked for a divorce. And it got ugly really fast. So it was really hard not to let the wind get taken out of my sail completely.
Yeah. Yeah. The people that we feel like we should be able to depend on the most, especially in the hard times. And here you are being kind of sucker punched again when you're just starting to get on your feet. So you go through another divorce, right?
Yep.
And
So this was my first divorce.
okay. This is the
like,
first. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay.
So
Okay.
the father to my 4 kids, we've been married 15 years since we were like 18, 19 years old.
Wow.
This is my first divorce. And it was rough. I was the first one, or we were the first ones in his family to go through a divorce. We're from a very small town where names are very important and status in the community is very important. And we were all that, like we had all the things that you check off on the to-do list inside this lifestyle and this culture. And so for this divorce to happen, it not only took the rug out from under me, but all of our acquaintances and our circle and everybody was kind of floundering, going, what just went on? Like, this is like this perfect little couple that have all the things, all the boxes checked. She just went through this horrific illness. She's starting to get better. And now she's living with her parents and they're getting a divorce. Like, what is happening? So my world was rocked because like you said, I was just starting to get my feet under me with my health. And then I found myself divorced, moving in with my 4 kids, with my 4 kids and myself with my parents. I have no job, no credentials. I have nothing to fall back on, and also lost my community of my friends, like everything all at once. And I remember, Marcy, I can't even tell you how many times, like, I would be in bed at night and I was so mad. And I was like, God, you said it was going to be hard, but screw this. Like, are you kidding me? I am not as cool as you think I am. This is too hard. No, like, help me. It was a nightmare. It was awful.
Oh gosh. It's that refiner's fire though, right?
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yeah. The refiner's fire. Okay. So you're living in your parents' home with your 4 kids, and then you come up against another big decision you have to make. We're back at that breast implant thing.
Yeah.
Right? It's like,
yeah, what do I do? Yes, exactly. So I'm back at that crossroad. All the money that I do have and or I am getting and creating is going into attorneys. Like, every last dime. I mean, I would go to the church and ask for food and money to feed my kids. My parents supported us 100%, but every penny I had went to attorneys to try to get through this divorce. And so for me, the option of an explant to remove my breast implants, it was not even on the table. It was nowhere on the table. So here I am, still not feeling great, trying to figure out how to survive. I can't go get a job because I'm not physically able to go get any type of a job. So I turned to social media. I was like, you know what? I can lay in bed and I can sell stuff. I can build teams. I can promote stuff. Like, I can learn marketing and digital marketing and social media, and I can become the best at that. That's what I can do. So that's what I did. Like, that's what I did, trying to get myself out of this hole so that I could jump, so at some point I could get my breast implants removed, because it's not covered by insurance.
No, it's still considered a cosmetic procedure.
Yeah.
I mean, my explant was just May 20th, and on the paperwork it says cosmetic procedure, and there is no code for insurance billing. There's no code for it even being a thing. So I completely get that, because it's also not an inexpensive procedure.
Right. It's
more expensive.
It's very expensive. Yeah. It's more expensive than getting the breast implants in. It is more expensive. Even it was more expensive to get my explants, just my implants removed, than it was for my very expensive implant placement, reshaping lift of my breasts. That was way less money than to get just my 2 bags of silicone out of my boobs. Like,
it's totally crazy. So I totally understand, because there are so many women that are in that exact same position right now, that they know that it's their breast implants that are making them so sick, but they can't afford to get them out.
It is a vicious cycle that we're working on, ladies. We're trying and we're working on. So keep doing what we're doing. You guys keep helping.
Yes. So how long did it take before you were able to actually explant your implants?
So it took, it took a couple of years still. It took a couple of years and a couple more marriages. Like, let's just be honest. Because I was still in this culture and in this religion. And so I, instantly jumped into another marriage. I think 3 days after my first divorce was final, which is just absolutely insane. But again, I didn't advocate for myself. So I found myself in a different situation. So let's see, I ended up getting my explant in July 30th of 2019.
Okay.
So fairly recent.
Coming up on 2 years.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, that is so recent. So recent. And you had so much going on. Like you said, you've had 2 marriages since then. And so you've also been through, and this is something that people have to understand, is that, again, with society, a lot of the times, not only is it how we look that makes us feel better about ourselves, or appealing, or sexy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Attractive, but it's also who we're partnered with. That if we're alone, a lot of the times we're made to feel like there's something wrong with us. And so we're constantly looking for, and, I understand where you're coming from on the religious aspect of it. It truly is something that it's like, by yourself, you're only part. You have to be with someone else to be whole. So you have been through so much, but you've come so far. And I really want to get to this joyous part of your journey, because when you went through your explant, you had some serious decisions that you had to make. And I'd love for you to share with the audience, what that process was like for you, and what decisions you did make to get you to where you are today.
Yeah, so absolutely. So I finally got to the point that it was not a question. I had to get my implants out. My symptoms were getting really intense again. And I had really intense pain in my right breast, which later we found out was a torn muscle from holding the weight of the implant for so long. But which so long was 8 years. I had my breast implants a total of 8 years. But I finally got to the point where I found a doctor. There's more on this in my TED Talk because it's crazy, but I did find a doctor that would take out my implants. But as we were going through all the process, they find my medical records and they start asking history. And there is a lot of history of cancer in my family. So they said, Lacey, we want you to have genetic testing. We've done the MRIs, the mammograms, everything, but we can't really see anything because of your implants. They're in the way, and we don't want to get in there and find that there's a problem and you have cancer. So we just go do this. So I start through the process and I get my genetic testing done, and it comes back after I get tested with two separate genetic testing companies that I have two markers for breast cancer. And while I knew I had a lot of cancer in my family, that was a whole new blow to find out that there were two markers for breast cancer, not one, but two. And so my kind doctor oncologist, he sat me down and he just said, Lacey, with your family history, your health records, and these genetic markers, it is simply not a matter of if you get breast cancer, but when. And we highly recommend a full mastectomy, which a mastectomy is where they take your breast tissue, all the tissue, nipples, everything. And I, once again, had a really hard decision to make that I didn't want to make. Like, I didn't get in line for that, I was just like, please take these implants out. I'm done with them. And all of a sudden I found myself having to decide if I was going to take my breast tissue. But the interesting thing is I met with 3 or 4 different surgeons at the time, different doctors, and every one of them encouraged me to keep my breast implants. They were like, remove your breast tissue because it can be cancerous. You carry these genetic markers, but keep your breast implants so that you can still have breasts, so that you can still have these mounds on your chest. And I was like, wait, but that's what, but I wanted them out.
like a long time ago.
Yeah, I was like, how about you take the implants and leave my breast tissue? Like, let's try that for my odds. If we're going to consider, let's take a gamble with my health. Let me gamble with the breast tissue and take my implants. But that's not what I ended up deciding after, going through a whole bunch of stuff, whether it be science and records or personal reflecting. I took about a year to really make this decision, to really make sure it was my decision and to advocate for myself in what I wanted. And while I was trying to make my decision or sitting with deciding what to do, I had 2 more relatives diagnosed with breast cancer. And so I called in and said, get it scheduled. Let's do this. I want everything gone. I don't want my implants. I don't want, go ahead and take my breast tissue and I'm just not going to reconstruct. I'm going to be flat. I don't want anything. And so July 30th, 2019, I had a surgery that was about 6 hours long and they removed everything. So I am now 100% flat.
That decision. So before Dante and I, really scheduled my surgery, my thought processes was, I have no idea what I'm going to even have left over. Right. And that was a hard decision.
Yeah,
it's a really hard decision. And yet my thought process, and I know that you had gotten to that same thought process, was, I don't care. I want to feel good. I want to be able to live my life. I want to be able to be the mom and the grandma that I want to be, to those people in my life. And so my hat just comes off to you for making that decision, because looking at you today, it saved your life.
100%.
Saved your life. How quickly did you start feeling better?
Immediately. I remember waking up from surgery and was like, oh my word, I feel so good. And it was because, I mean, the first thing I noticed was just how much easier I could breathe, because I didn't have these massive triple D. You guys, I went from a triple D. Just to give you listeners an idea, I am like 5'3", 125 pounds. Like, I am not a huge person, and I had triple D breasts. And so I went from triple D to concave. Like, I cave inward now. And when I woke up from surgery, I felt so good. I loved that I could breathe. I loved that, like, I just felt, I don't know, I just felt different. And I've improved so quickly, like so incredibly quickly, that it's just been It's just been such a fun journey. Like, this has been the great part of my story.
Yes, yes. But the people don't understand how great this is unless they hear
Yeah.
and feel the emotion around the part that was really sucky.
Yes.
Right. And so I am so grateful that you shared, the whole of your journey, not just the good part, because your journey is still really just getting started. Because you were reborn, July 30th of 2019, and now you're stepping
Absolutely.
into the purpose of that conversation that you had with God, and where you decided that you were going to come back, you were going to live your
Mhm.
life and literally come back. This is your comeback song, right?
Yes.
Totally. So please share with us, what are you doing now? Because okay, so you're feeling better, but
Mhm.
you're all of a sudden you're boobless. All
I
of a
am.
sudden you're a flatty. All of a sudden you've got a straight scar. And how did that work with your mindset? Because that has to be a completely different mindset shift and decision moving forward too.
Yeah.
Um,
It's interesting because you think that it would be a completely different mindset and mind shift, going from whether you're just getting your implants out and going back to your natural state, or getting implants out and going back to a flat state. But the more time that I spend with women who have explanted and gone back to a natural state, because I spend a lot of time with women who are flat, it's the same. We all have the same fears. We all have the same insecurities. We all worry, what are we going to look like in a bathing suit? Is my sex life ever going to be the same? Is my partner going to like my new body? It's not really necessarily, am I going to like my new body? Yeah, on some level, but we're so worried about what the outside world is going to think of us and how we're going to be perceived and what we're going to have to explain, that it cripples people, like makes people stop in their tracks. And so now I am just so passionate about going and raising awareness, first and foremost, that going flat is 100% an option, because that is not given. When a woman is diagnosed with breast cancer, it is, do you want implants or do you want grafting? Like where they take fat from another portion of your body and put it up on your chest, which I'm not shaming that. If you want to do that, by all means, great. But just know the risks. Know what risks are involved. Know how often the surgery is actually successful and it takes. Know the risks.
yes.
They are not given an option to just have no breasts. And that is so important to me, because I am more of a woman now. And yes, I'm going to say it. I am more of a woman now that I don't have breasts and I don't have nipples, and I'm not trying to cover and conceal my boobs because I'm so afraid of what people are going to think, or I was always afraid that people were going to remember me for my big beautiful breasts. And I'm like, no, my soul is way more gorgeous than my boobs. Like,
Right. And it is. You absolutely glow. You are so stunningly beautiful. Seriously. And you have got such a great message that you are sharing. So what is it that you are actually doing to spread that hope and the purpose that you have to all of the women, and actually to the world? Because men have to know about this too, because
oh my
it's
gosh,
much easier
yes.
for women if their men know what these options are, what these choices are, and the struggles that go with them. So
Yes.
what
And
are you doing?
I love that you keep bringing up men, because I am the biggest cheerleader of men. I have not had any of them be rude or horrific to me because I have no breasts. Like, we are conditioned and we are taught, men and women, that this is a big deal for men. And yes, it is. It is definitely part of our culture and what we like. But you know what, you guys? Men love us for our souls. They love us for our feminine energy. It's not just because of our breasts. And so what I'm doing now is just really trying to raise awareness and advocate and educate about all of this, whether it be breast implant illness, but primarily my focus is loving yourself afterwards.
Yes.
Loving yourself after you get the implants out, or loving yourself enough to never get them.
Oh, that is so beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. And I knew that this message that you had to share, and this topic, the topic for this podcast, I mean, because this is the Your Blank What Now podcast. And so the title of your show is Your Boobless What Now, right? Because it is what now, it's the after. That's the journey that we've got to make sure that we are victorious in. And so I love that you have this support place for men and women, that you have got coaching and, help for people in their minds, and in just believing in themselves to be so beautiful. And so how can our audience follow you? Where can they find Lacey Marie,
Yes.
and see more of you?
Absolutely. So just about anywhere you can type in on Facebook. I'm either under Lacey Marie or Boobless.life. Instagram is Boobless.life. TikTok is Lacey Marie and Boobless.life. I do have a Facebook group that, like you said, is for men, women. It is for the masses to come into and learn about all of these things, to learn about breast implant, to learn about going flat. Because just like you said, there are so many groups out there, but they exclude men.
Yes.
And a lot of the groups that I'm in for flat women, they exclude anybody with breasts because it can be very much a trigger for women who don't have any anymore. And so my people and my space that I'm creating is a safe place for anyone and everyone who genuinely want to learn and support anybody in their life to make these decisions.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. And earlier in the show, you said you kept thinking, if I was better, my life would be better. If I was better, my marriage could be better. Well, girlfriend, you are 100% better, and you are spreading your light in such beautiful ways. And I just want to personally thank you, for being who you are and for sharing this message so boldly, because it starts with awareness. And if we aren't brave enough to share our stories, that awareness can never happen. So Lacey Marie, thank you so very much, for being here with me today. I just know that our audience is going to love you, and get connected with her, guys and girls. You're going to want to know what she's got going on, and just know that she will have resources and tools, for the future for you as well. It's now and it's moving forward, because you never know when you're going to come across someone that's going to need exactly what Lacey has to offer. So Lacey, thank you so much, for being here with me on the Your Blank What Now podcast. We so appreciate you. And again, your topic, your boobless What Now? And it is moving into perfection. That's what now is. So thank you again, Lacey, for
Thank
being
you.
here today. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Marcy.
You're welcome.